if so, would they no longer be bound by those second apron limitations? Like, are there some loopholes we can play with?
No. That's a terrific question.
Okay, Bobby, the real question here that everyone wants to know, are there some loopholes that we just haven't quite figured out yet? So, for example, right, is there a realistic way that the Suns could maybe get under the second apron by hypothetically unloading Jusuf Nurkic $18.1 million contract to a team that can just absorb that contract and not take something back for the Suns? And if so, would they no longer be bound by those second apron limitations? Like, are there some loopholes we can play with?
No. That's a terrific question. I mean, like, yeah, so you could go out and do something like that. So we're looking at, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 7 teams that have cap space this offseason. You've got to spend it. How the new rules are, you've got to spend 90% of the salary cap by the first day of the regular season. So if you're Philadelphia and you've got 5 million to spend, you've got to spend, 127 million up to the cap. Detroit's another team. San Antonio, Utah, Orlando. Like, there's a list of teams out there. So would it cost you? Would you have to add something to it? I don't know. I mean, it depends on how that team values a Nurkic. So once you go under, right? So you knock that $16-17 million. Once you're under, then you're under. Then you're a team that is operating as a first apron team or just a luxury tax team here. So there is like KCP in Denver is an example. KCP's got a player option for next year. Denver's considered a second apron team. He opts out. He goes elsewhere. They go under, I think the first, maybe even the first and second apron. And then all of a sudden, all these resources that weren't available to you, the ability to aggregate contracts, the ability to take back more money, that now becomes available to you.
So with that being said, loophole number 2, if they were somehow to get into that first apron, can they then make a trade that would get the necessary resources back, but also it puts them back into that second apron? Can they still do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, basically what would happen is that as long as you're not using one of the things, the resources that would trigger it. Okay, so for example, let's say you move Nurkic and now you're a first apron team. Okay, and now all of a sudden you want to take back more money in a trade. Then that would trigger the apron or aggregate. That would basically would restart everything up. If you moved the number and you wanted to aggregate contracts and take back players and still leaves you below the second apron, then you're allowed to do that here.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you can't go from one apron down to the other apron to try to go back up to
and then go back up.
I got it. That's why we love you, Bobby. You got it all, man.